everyone. Today we are bringing some information to you on skilled nursing facilities. This session is brought to you by the Iowa Intermediary Networks. There is one of us at each one of the community colleges across Iowa. As we go along and we're asking questions, and maybe you have a question that is not answered during this session, if you want to go ahead and type that into your question and answer key down at the bottom, and we will try to get to those. And if we do not, we will send an email out with the answers to that. We have a couple panelists with us today, so hopefully we get through all of the questions that were submitted before the session started. My name is Tina Benton, and I am located at Western Iowa Tech Community College. We have with us today Megan Cruzy, and she is with Iowa Central Community College. And we also have another intermediary with us, Natalie Harris, but you are unable to see her. She is behind the scenes, hopefully keeping our video and our feed going, because we all know technology can sometimes stop on and so anyway, we will introduce our panelists now. Joining us is, the first one is Katie Gary, and she is from Hillcrest Shadow Lake, which is located in Papillion, Nebraska. And we have Helen Smith, and she is located at Mercy One in Des Moines. And I am going to turn it over to Megan, and she's going to have our panelists kind of introduce themselves, give us some background on how they got to where they're at, and then we will dive into some of the questions that we have.
Thank you very much, Tina, for that great introduction. Good morning, guys. Like Tina said, I'm Megan Cruzy from Iowa Central. All right, let's go ahead and get started. So I'm going to ask both of you a little bit here just to get to know you, and then so our viewers can get to know you guys. So Katie, I'll go ahead and start with you. Do you want to share what company you work with, what position you currently have, and then a little bit about your background and about your education?
Yeah, so I am from Hillcrest Shadow Lake in Papillion, Nebraska. We are a long-term nursing home. My background is I have right now 12 years of CNA experience. My position here is Director of Transitions, which is Director of Social Work. That's just our Hillcrest terminology. My background is, long-term care. I also have inpatient acute hospital social work, background. Graduated from Wayne State College in 2015, yes, with my bachelor's in criminal justice and social work. And, did CNA work throughout, college from the time I was, 18, I've been doing it. So yeah, do all that and assist. Sometimes I help on the floor here too, if the nursing team needs it. But yep, and I just have, acute care and long-term care experience, and then some assisted living, but.
Great, thank you. Katie, can I ask you, I was wondering, so have you always wanted to be in healthcare, or did your family do that, or what interests you?
So my mom's been in healthcare for my whole life. She works in physical therapy at a hospital for now, just celebrated her 40th anniversary there. My grandma worked in healthcare. My grandpa was the maintenance man in healthcare, and it's just always been something I enjoyed. If you would ask my mom when I was little if I ever wanted to, she would have said you would have never put her in healthcare. But then after I grew, got older and I saw like the care, because my grandparents both ended up in nursing homes, that it really intrigued me, and, just to get to know, one, take care of people, and two, just to really, you connect on a different level. And it just, I initially was going to be a nurse. I went to nursing school for about 1.5 years, but then I ended up deciding, I really enjoy mental health and cognitive and stuff like that. So then that's when I changed my path to social work. But social work and healthcare is very important too. It just, along with nursing, we all have our important roles and we assist each other with, the day-to-day tasks. So it's overall, it's a kind of it's just, it's very rewarding.
I bet your family is very proud that you followed in their footsteps. So that's awesome.
Absolutely.
Alrighty, Helen, it's your turn. So do you want to tell us the company you're working for, your position, and then a little bit about your background and your education?
Absolutely. So my name is Helen Smith, and I am a business partner currently in our Human Resources office at Mercy One Medical Center in Des Moines. My background, though, is in nursing. So I originally went to DMAC in Ankeny for my associates, went on to get my bachelor's at a different university. But I've been a nurse for over 16 years. While I was in nursing school, I did work for a time at a nursing facility in one of our metro areas here in Des Moines. And then for the remainder of it, worked as a patient care technician, just different terminology. It is a CNA, it's just what it was called in the hospital setting. So did all of that work throughout nursing. And then of course at the bedside, that CNA or PCT, as we call them, are such an integral part of our care team that I am very honored to be able to be here and answer any questions that anybody has, and hopefully help them lead into a path within healthcare itself. My current role as a business partner, I get to kind of straddle the line a little bit. I do a lot of interviewing and just networking with especially new graduates, new people into our CNA program. Our hospital does have a CNA version of our own program. So we do train our own CNAs to work within our facility. So I interview every one of them that is in our program that is recurring throughout the year. So I have a lot of experience with it and just trying to help navigate those waters with people, because healthcare, especially during a pandemic, is an intimidating environment. And it is also some of the best and most rewarding work that you can do. And you get to work with some really great people, both patients and your peers too.
That's good information. Thank you so much. All righty, let's jump into some questions that we have. Katie, if you'd like to start first, and then Helen, you're more than welcome to jump in, of course. So what is a skilled care or nursing care facility? Can you guys explain that, please?
Yeah, so like some nursing homes, most nursing homes in each state are certified from Medicare. They skilled nursing facilities, a lot of them get, most nursing homes are skilled, where they provide like a certain amount of physical, occupational, speech therapy rehab for nursing home patients that come out of the hospital or come from home, assisted living. A lot of them, so they do that intensive rehab. Most of the time the goal for rehab facilities or skilled nursing care is, 20 days or so to get them in and out to try to get them back home and rehab. On the nursing care facility side, more, that's just more your basic long-term care. So a lot of residents, they're either, privately paying, or they are under Medicaid of some form. So a big part of that is, they still get the same care, nursing 24 hours a day, dietary, we have maintenance and all of that stuff here, social work. But they're just here, because they can't live on their own anymore for safety reasons. And so we are, our goal, and sometimes those skilled care residents realize, oh my gosh, I don't know if I can even go back home. So then they end up becoming long-term care patients for us. And, we assist with either, if they need to get on Medicaid, a big part of like my job in social work is, assisting with that application process, getting all the stuff for the families. But yeah, I used to work at a facility where, we'd in and out rehab patients 3 or 4 a week minimum, and the bigger ones down here for sure, they're in and out quick. So it's fast paced, it's moving, and it's enjoyable, and you learn a lot of skill set based off what the diagnosis is and everything along those lines.
Thank you, Katie. Yeah, I was going to say, it's awesome that there's so many different positions at these facilities you were talking about. And then all the skills you learn, it just amazes me. So that's pretty phenomenal. Helen, if you want to jump in at this question, please. So explain, what is a certified nursing assistant, and then what do they do? Like, what kind of care do they provide?
So certified nursing assistants is a term that will apply to anybody that is providing care to patients that are either, it could be in a hospital setting, nursing home, skilled nursing facility, and then you can't forget home care as well. So the position itself is very broad, narrowing in and narrowing down to like this audience, the nursing home versus skilled nursing facility. The biggest piece is that they are providing the most patient-facing position and care that we have within healthcare. Doesn't matter what facility that they're in. Our PCTs in the hospital, for example, by far are in front of that patient more than anybody else. So their role is essential. It cannot be underestimated. So the foundational piece of what a nursing assistant does, it's in the term itself. You are assisting what that nurse is needing to do, and especially in a nursing facility or a skilled nursing facility, that nurse has a volume of patients that he or she cannot possibly provide all of the care by themselves. So they have to have a partner in that. And so what that person is as a CNA is going to be providing is activities of daily living. That is 100% the foundational piece of that. And you think of the things that we take for granted that we do each and every day. It's like, we get up, we brush our teeth, you take a shower, you get dressed, you have breakfast, all of those things we have to provide and get to provide for these individuals. No matter if they're at skilled or if they're at a nursing home, as Katie said, they will get the same types of care. Now, where it varies is depending upon the facility you're in. Is it like a memory care? What unit is it? If it's skilled versus nursing, do they have tubes, drains? Do they need vital signs done? Do they need a catheter emptied? Does the nurse need assistance with wound care? There's lots of different things depending on where you would work. The variety is huge. The big things are, though, that we are maintaining that person's independence as much as possible, at least giving people, as much of a choice and an option of things, trying to work around if they're differently abled, are they not able to do certain things for themselves? We want to maintain as much integrity too as possible. Most of us can only imagine what it would be like to be a patient, no matter where you're at. It's a very unnerving thing. And then especially when you're looking at people in nursing homes and skilled nursing facilities, this can be absolutely their home. So we can't take for granted that we are in their space, and this is their living facility. And so we need to do our best to be able to provide that type of experience. And that's where a CNA is key, because they're in front of that patient so much. While they're providing all those cares and bathing and dressing and any kind of grooming and cleaning up and stuff and going around, they need to be able to have that ability to make connections with people. That's what really is one of the biggest pieces of this position is communication. It's not only to like the care team and the therapist and the nurse and, director of nursing and all of that, but with that patient, if you value that person as an individual, then your day will be better. Their day will be much, much better. They just want to be treated as a person. And if we can accomplish that, then everybody will be better off.
Wow, what an important role. You just explained that. That's very good. Thank you. So you guys kind of talked about who hires, like what kind of facilities hire CNAs, but are there others that hire CNAs?
Yeah, I know some doctors' clinics now have started hiring them and so the nurse doesn't have to necessarily do all like the pre-admission vital signs and things. So they have been you're seeing them more in like the urgent care settings, starting to do that where, the CNAs do all the pre-vital signs, the questionnaires, and then the nurse comes in and assists. I know some people do private hiring, like, say your grandmother's at home sick, but you don't want to put her in a nursing home. There are some, like if you do, they do private in-home care too. So, the family can just specifically hire you for just that, to take care of her, for, the 8 hours they're at work, or, things along those lines. But yeah, mainly, nursing homes, hospitals, assisted living, really a lot of them basically all hire. So, you really have a broad aspect of, and like Madonna and select specialties and all those specialty hospitals, they also all hire them too. So it's a very broad aspect of where you can work, what kind of patient, you want to work with, because some people don't like the elderly, but they prefer more the acute side. So, I like both, but so.
Good information. We appreciate it. So we talked about the daily tasks, but what about hours? What hours do you work, or is it going to vary? Maybe it depends where you work. Helen's smiling. So Helen, go ahead, tell us.
Very dependent upon where you work. It's honestly, think of it as like being a nurse. Do you work in a facility that's 24/7? Then they have to have people that provide that care 24/7 versus like a clinic. Your schedule can be as erratic or as set as you want it to be. You just have to figure out where that is. That home work-life balance is going to work best for you. Some people in their life, maybe night shift is where it's at, and they need, so if you look at that, like clinics are going to be out, home care is not something that's provided, generally speaking, too much overnight, unless you're staying with someone, and then like Katie brought up too, like the private care piece. But hospitals and then skilled nursing facilities, nursing homes are going to have that 24/7 piece of it. And so just like with any job, you look to see what's going to fit in your balance of what you're looking for. Over the years, and as I, continually start trying to like hire people in and figure out where their best match, that home work-life balance is really a key. And as we, have experiences and like maybe family circumstances change, whatever that is, that's where you have to figure out what works best. The beautiful thing about healthcare is that the opportunities are abound. There's just, the only reason someone is stuck in a job is if they're feeling, they're not taking the step and taking a chance to go out and try something different. There's always opportunities that are out there. And so I would always just recommend people kind of, look around before they really just accept the first job. Make sure you look and see, who you work with is also really, really important. Like that's like you spend almost more time with those people than you do even like your family and your friends. So you really want to make sure you're choosing that right environment, because if you work with the right people, we can all do about anything and it'll be fine. And so that great team is very important, but there's part-time, there's PRN, which means as needed, there's full-time hours, days, evenings, nights, weekends, holidays. So there's lots of different varieties that can certainly be found. It's just sitting down and figuring out what you feel like would work best for you and just giving it a shot.
Very good advice. You got me motivated. I'm not even CNA, but now I'm like, oh, did I choose the right career? Because you guys are teaching me a lot. Let's talk about age, the educational side of things, and maybe licensing. Katie, do you want to talk about those requirements in order to be a CNA?
So prior to COVID pandemic, usually it's a 76-hour class. You take most of the time through some form of like college. A lot of times, most community colleges, some high schools, most high schools anymore, some of them are offering it. You take this 76-hour class, then you're required to take a state test. You have a written test and then a skills test. You do have to pass both in order to obviously get your license. And then once that is accomplished, then you will be on the state registry for CNA, and then you'll have a license number. And then you can start, I believe age 16 is one time frame you can start. And then you just start out, applying for jobs and going along those lines. Usually in regards to licensure, you don't, if you work in any form of facility, they're gonna make you do like education, recommended education or required education throughout the year to continue to meet criteria. But yeah, it's very, very quick. It's very simple. I did mine in a summer, and I did it like a 3-week period, 4 weeks, not even a month, and was ready to go. My test was about an hour or so between both the skills and the written. But like I said, and a lot of facilities nowadays are offering to pay for it. So it's not even gonna be a cost to you. A lot of like long-term care facilities, and I can't speak for hospital-wise, but are offering to pay for them to work, go to the class, get certified, and then you receive a position at our facility or the nursing facility. So it's kind of a win-win now with COVID, a lot of times they actually have been doing it quicker. There's been a 2-week class I've seen in such, but again, you know, most of the time it's a 76-hour class. But even if it was the 2-hour one during the pandemic the most, you still got your state certification. You still had to pass the test, skilled and written, and then obviously based off what facility you're at, you'll go through their orientation process and be with staff. And I always found that, you know, hands-on is where you're going to learn the most in regards to this, because every patient's different. You know, some like this, some like that. You know, you'll learn. You know, you just learn based off experience.
So you talked about the test component. Is there anything else, or can you kind of talk about the continue learning? So it sounds like there's always going to be some kind of classes or tests, or is that once a year? And I'm sure both of yours are different, or maybe not.
A lot of times you go like through, you know, you'll have the OSHA training, you'll have the HIPAA, which is like protected health information. So, you know, not breaking those HIPAA laws in regards to communicating about residents, to, you know, who you're talking to them about, you know, fire safety, bloodborne pathogens, you know, infectious diseases, infection control, just basic, you know, safety things that'll educate. And then you have this criteria, usually throughout the year. Most facilities have them due within, you know, a couple months, you know, after they start assigning them. I know ours with like new hires, you know, you have a decent amount of them to do, but again, it's for your protection, obviously, and your knowledge to know, like, hey, if this situation arises, this is what we do, you know, disaster control, you know, so if we have a tornado or a fire, what are our protocols and where do we go? So it is based off, you know, each facility, you know, they all go over it, they're all different, but no, they continue to educate them. And a lot of times, you know, nurses, like RNs, LPNs, they have to have CEUs, but CNA wise, we don't have to have those. So it's just doing basically the education that whatever facility you're working for requires, and just having them done. But you can always reach out to get, you know, more education. You know, a lot of times you know, sometimes say, hey, go get your CPR certification, you know, because that definitely can always come in handy if you're certified. You know, the more you have, you know, it just works out a lot better most of the time.
Good to know. Thank you, Katie. Helen, let's talk about, why do you think it's an important step to be a CNA if someone is interested in the healthcare field?
So I kind of touched on it earlier. I have a pretty big soapbox stance about this. I personally believe, you know, looking at this position, it depends on, you know, pathways, and pathways can change. That role of a CNA can either be a landing zone for people, or it can be a stepping stone. And your viewpoint on that's going to shift depending on like your life circumstances. So looking at it, first of all, as that landing zone, there's some really big benefits that do come with the work of being a CNA, like especially financially. I think, especially over the last couple of years, I think the level has caught up to where we need to be paying individuals for the work that they're doing. And so I know here in Iowa, we've come a long way, especially in the last few years. And so rates of pay and things like that, you know, no one's ever going to be paid exactly what they're worth, because like you think like nurses and CNAs and teachers and all those individuals, like they're just invaluable. But looking at that piece of the stepping stone, and I think, you know, like Katie's probably a good example too, of just like what it exposes you to, like, what am I interested in? Like, what do I want to do? So, you know, I always use the example of like myself working in the hospital, and I'm hiring people into CNA roles, that they're then exposed to all ancillary departments coming in and out. And it's not dissimilar from that of like a skilled nursing facility, especially because you've got all kinds of like physical occupational speech therapies coming in and like food nutrition, and you're working with social workers and you know, different leadership roles, and you know, you get to like the provider levels, and like, am I interested in being a nurse practitioner or a PA or a physician? So it's just kind of like that gateway piece of getting your foot in the door. You are seeing everything, experiencing everything. If people do choose to go and do something different, that experience of a CNA is going to make them a better person at whatever role that they choose. You know, it's important, I think, for all of us to always remember where we came from, and those experiences and those roots. And so those experiences as a CNA really keep you at a level of why we're doing what we're doing, because it's all for that team and for that patient. And prioritizing those things are definitely key. And if you can have those positive, strong experiences and provide that for somebody else, oftentimes, honestly, we get more out of it than even a lot of times the patients do, because it feels good to make somebody else like have a good day. So it's hard work, but finding that passion and purpose in a role like this is simple. It just falls in your lap every day.
And back to the licensure, most states though do require you to work so many hours a year though to keep your licensure. I think it's like 8 hours a year. Honestly, I don't think it's that much. So it just popped into my head as well. How?
Yeah, in Iowa, it's 8 every 24 months, I think. At least I know it's that initial period. You just have to work at least 8 hours, and it has to be like in a nursing assistant capacity, not like I'm doing laundry for somebody or that
right,
type
like
of role.
private.
But 8 hours, 8 hours in 2 years is very achievable.
100%.
Yeah, that sounds doable for sure. All right, guys, let's hear from both of you on this. Katie, you can go ahead and start. Helen, you just kind of said some of it, but if a student is interested in being a CNA or healthcare in general, what are their next steps? Maybe what advice do you guys have personally? Maybe you guys had something not work out, or you would have went a different way. Can you both just kind of share a little bit for that?
Yeah, so really I always, try to say, hey, if your school has some form of like job shadowing program, definitely get into that. Before my senior year of high school, I went and job shadowed because I wanted to be a surgical nurse. So I went and job shadowed a surgical nurse at the hospital. And that just opened my eyes. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is awesome. And so that aspect of it, it'll tell you if you want to work in healthcare or not, because, it isn't for everybody. It really isn't. I just recommend doing that definitely, or, just calling, trying to get your class set up if you can. It's always something you can have. Like I said, I've had mine for 11 years, and now, I am the director of social work now, but I can now still help my nursing team out when they're in a pinch, so it's a very, very good thing to have, and very easily achieved.
So looking at, recommendations, there is so many opportunities to have somebody else pay for your certification that I just would be remiss if I didn't say that. Like it's especially like if you're in high school, I mean, you get credit for it, somebody else pays for it. And then the key is to, especially if you're looking at working in a nursing home or a skilled nursing facility, you have to maintain yourself on the registry, or you have to, like, I think, Katie, am I wrong? I think you have to retest again if you let your name lapse off.
So if you let it lapse, then you have to retest. And then if you let it lapse over a year, then you have to take the full class. Usually, I think it's a year or two, you have to retake the whole entire class again. So then that's another thing, if you get it in high school, or, if you get it through a company and then you let it lapse, then it's on your, your cost and your watch, and, just having to go read back through all of that. So it's, like you said, it's very, very simple to keep up the hours. Even if you're at a PRN status and you only have to work one shift a month, that's one shift that keeps your active license in a whole year or 2 years. So very doable.
You guys mentioned where you can register to take a CNA class, or can you just touch on that just briefly?
Yeah, so honestly, my best recommendations for anybody would be looking at like at actual school settings. And I apologize, I have I have the sun coming in on my face, so I don't have a glitch on my computer. So first of all, looking at like high school, that'd be like the first step. If you're in high school and your high school offers it, I definitely would recommend that. The caveat to that, especially like in the metro schools in the Des Moines area, there's so many people and there's only so much space in order to do that. So you may run into the fact that it's not a possibility. I will say, working with some school counselors, there is a good possibility if you just ask the question, will that school give you college credit to go and go to your community college that's local to you and be able to still do it outside of the high school setting? If your especially if your high school doesn't have a CNA program within its walls, then that's a great option. But honestly, anywhere that you can find in a community college setting, that's going to be just the most advantageous. They're going to give you the best experience. They're going to be the best qualified people that are going to be able to give you that opportunity. And it's going to be a solid program, and you're going to get really good clinical experience, which that clinical experience is important because that is what's going to allow you to pass that exam and that skills piece of it. But you really need to ensure that you're going to the right areas. And especially if you're going to do it on your own, it's a big investment. It's hundreds of dollars if you do have to afford that for yourself. That doesn't include your scrubs. Like if they make you wear like one color, do you have to have all white shoes? Like depending on where you're going, that cost goes up. Like it can be like $600-700 plus up to almost $1,000, depending on where you're at in the state. And so first look for funds. If you have somebody that can assist your financial needs, even if you can write it, if you're, 17 and you have a job and you can write a check for it, let somebody else cover it for you. Like this is, take advantage of the benefits that you have available. But community colleges would be my best, strong vote for that.
Yeah, but I agree. Most community colleges all have that information for the most part.
Great. And that is the wrap of our questions. I don't see any in the Q&A. So we're going to go ahead and hand it to Tina. I want to personally thank both of you. I learned a ton. And I think that the viewers did too. So thank you both for taking the time to talk to us and answer our questions.
Yes, thank you so much. I'm with you, Megan. I learned a ton today too. I love all the opportunities that are within this career pathway. There's so many options. It's not just, just one thing that you do. There's just a ton of options. So, and thank you, Helen and Katie, for sharing your insight and giving us your background and what to do to become a CNA and make steps past that as well. If we did miss any of the questions, we will email those, the answers out of those questions to the students and teachers if we missed any. But wow, this was amazing. You talked about the community colleges, and that's where Megan and I work, and job shadows is always a really good opportunity for you to get some experience of being on the job as well. So you can always reach out to us, talk to others, listen to, the virtual webinars like this, ask lots of questions. But yeah, tons of positions out there, I know, within the health field right now. So a lot of opportunities. So thank you all for joining us. Hope you enjoyed it and have a great rest of the week.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.